Greetings, welcome back. Another movie review today. We're going to be having a look at The Chinese Boxer, the classic movie that is The Chinese Boxer, written, directed by and starring Wang. To many, this movie was the game changer, right? The Chinese Boxer was very much a game changer. This was the movie that moved sort of Hong Kong-based action films out of that sword play sort of troupe that we were getting associated with, like sort of like the King Hu films. This was a film that was very pivotal in like sort of the transition into that sort of realm of hand-to-hand combat. I'm more into the realm of like kung fu as it become. When you look at this movie, although Fist of Fury is probably more widely known and widely seen, it's amazing when you acknowledge how much this movie was inspirational to the making and vibe of Fist of Fury. This was 1970. This movie, I say Fist of Fury was not for another couple of years yet. I mean, Wuxi was more focused on the magic, like King Hu films was like the swordsman, mystical and almost in a way like an opera and like folklore and them kind of ethics. Whereas Chinese Boxer was more brutal, bloody as well. There's a lot going, and I think Wang was very brave in what he did here with this movie, and that's why a lot of people, Wang does have his fans. Wang is sort of regarded as sometimes in some circles higher in terms of filmmaking, in terms of like films that were important, just as high as what Bruce Lee was and is. I'd say it's more focused on unarmed combat, and like I say, I've said before, it can be quite confusing to the newcomer to get confused with Wang movies, because, for example, we have Chinese Boxer, there's one-armed boxer, there's one-armed swordsman. It can get a bit confusing sometimes to like the titles of the movies if you are new to the Wang sort of universe and his films. So we have the classic King Boxer himself in this movie as a Japanese villain, Lieh, sporting very nice and very luxurious mop of hair. Though looking back, you could argue that this film is far from perfect. You could say it is, it does have its faults. Of course it does. It's an early kung fu movie. It does have its faults. It's not 100% perfect. You have to remember this was like a kung fu film before a kung fu film was even sort of a thing, before it was even sort of, a whole entity unto itself. This was before Bruce Lee, before Jackie Chan. So many often wonder why, Wang is so important. Well, many could argue it's him that started it all, in a way. Many this why like Wang is often, like I say, revered and quite highly regarded in terms of how important he was to kung fu cinema and that kung fu boom. Always worth noting that the colour of the movie, the whole film is very crisp and it's very vibrant, especially in this Blu-ray release here from 88 Films. The film looks absolutely fantastic in HD. It really does look wonderful in this Blu-ray release. The scenes are well lit, produced by Shaw Brothers and having that wonderful Shaw scope look and feel. You could argue as well in the way that the film plays a lot like a Western, this movie, and there's many classic like sort of Fistful of Dollars, Sergio Leone sort of vibes running through. It's almost like Wang enjoyed that spaghetti western vibe and wanted to like adopt it sort of for a kung fu movie, and that's no bad thing at all. Not to take anything away from Bruce Lee, he was and is undoubtedly the most well-known kung fu star. Wang in many ways, though, I think you could argue he was the first. I'm not saying either one was any better, but what I mean is I think this is why, like I say, a lot of people did Wang was important, because he was may not necessarily been the best, may not necessarily even had better films, but in many ways Wang was sort of, in roundabout ways, sort of one of the first, if not the first. For a directional debut from Wang the film is a real accomplished film, and the film in many ways it is a classic. I think it's a must-see. It's stylish, it's brutal, and above all else, it's just wonderfully entertaining. And one could argue that this would be the ultimate place to start. If you are new to the Kung Fu world, I think Chinese Boxer is, if you are new to Kung Fu movies, Chinese Boxer is, if you said to me, write me a list of 50 Kung Fu films I must see, I would have to put Chinese Boxer in there at some point. So, the film opens in a market, and what you will notice right away is the use of zoom in, zoom outs and up close shots, and as I mentioned, plays much like the opening of a Western movie, and it can be quite jarring with the editing and the way it is shot. So we're following this guy in black, following his footsteps. We have no idea who he is, where he is going, but of course we know it can't be good news. It never is. If a stranger arrives in town and he's covered in black, more often than not, he's up to no good, right? There's something going on. It's got to be bad news. So Master Chao is the guy in question and walks into this kung fu school and says their kung fu is crap. Basically, that's what he does. He just walks into the school, says their kung fu is crap. Primitive maybe, but it gets the film going. And like I say, this in many ways was the first of its kind, which many kung fu films would follow afterwards. Their master not there, so he challenges their pupils. One of the students runs off to get their master as the credits roll. And for some reason, however, he runs to Wang Yu first, who is busy at this canyon smashing up rocks, and he plays Lieh Meng. So after being told what is happening, him and his buddy from the school, Talung, just leave work. No one to answer to, they just leave what they're doing. And like I say, he said he's going to go and get the master, but he runs to Jimmy Wang Yu's character for whatever reason. Notice, in the crowd at the school, you will see a young Fang Hakon here as well, and one of the bad guys later in movies. Master turns up, and Master Chao is using judo, and Wang Yu's master beats him. So Lieh Meng is dating Xiaoling, and she is worried something bad will happen because of the kung fu and what has happened. And it's her father, basically, who runs the school, who's Jimmy Wang Yu's master. Bearing in mind, after being defeated, Master Chao said he will be sending some karate experts to deal with them. So she's all worried, oh my God, what's going to happen? They're sort of don't worry about it. So the students along with Wang Yu are all wondering what karate is, and they get informed by the master that only iron sand palm and the light leaping technique can beat it. So Lieh Meng and Talung have a meal at their master's, and we learn that Lieh Meng is an orphan. Their master took him in and is going to marry his daughter. And I tell you, this master is one chilled master. Like in kung fu movies, the master is often sort of stern and strict and very authoritative and things like that. This master is just happy to have a drink with his students. He's letting them drink, have a meal. He's even letting them get drunk. This master really, this is the kind of master I could get on board with. This master, he's a very chilled one, this one. So it's the usual Fist of Fury type situation, even though, as I mentioned, Fist of Fury is made after Japanese versus Chinese. Lieh turns up as one of the Japanese thugs, who also we have Chen Xian too, who you'll probably remember from Iron Fisted Monk and Shaolin Plot. And I love when Chao is taking these newly arrived Japanese fighters out for a meal. He says to the waiter, bring your best food, and if we don't like it, we'll just tear the place down. I love these very subtle threats these guys give. If you don't bring us some nice food, we're just going to trash this whole restaurant. So I just love the subtlety of that. Lieh asks him, why am I doing this? What's in it for me? Just to be famous. Chao wants him to run a school so he can sort of run a casino. These villains, it's always a casino and a gambling den, isn't it? There's always a casino. These villains, they always want a casino and a gambling den. That is always two of their main priorities and what they want to do. So one of the waiters sneaks out to inform one of the school members, Master's son, and he's like, don't tell Master yet, I will go and look myself. Why couldn't you sneak a peek? I have no idea. This guy's the bad dudes are there, and this guy's like, right, don't tell Master yet, I'll go and check it out. Why he had to check it out, I have no idea. Why he couldn't just peek round the corner, I have no idea. But for some reason, he just goes in there and sits at a table. And he sits down, and right away he gets recognised. So he's basically just walked into the lion's den, basically, for some reason. He just happily is like, right, I'll sit right up, and he gets recognised. So Lieh goes mad, and like I say, you have to love his hair in this. You really do have to love Lieh's hair. When you see the film, if you do go to watch it, or if you have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. He gets one of the fighters, Tanaka, to fight San, who proceeds to jab him in the eye and the belly and then just kills him. Two men bring the coffin to Wang Yu's school, and it's quite eerie. You can hear this squeaking, creaking noise of the coffin approaching, and it's the way they do, Jimmy Wang Yu shoots it. Now, so bear in mind he did direct this as well. It's quite an eerie the way, like I say, you can sort of hear the coughing approaching, and I love how the master is like, right, let's sort this, okay? Sends one of his students into the fight the Japanese after they turn up at the school, and yep, they die too. Lieh Meng fights Chen Xian's character. Lieh takes on the master and kicks him, sending him flying through a wall. Nice shot where we have a close-up of this light rocking back and forth, and we pan down to see the beaten students laying on the floor, and we then cut to them burying their bodies. So their whole school gets turned into like a gambling den, which seems overnight because they've just been beaten, and it seems, like I said, the gambling den is there and operational and up and running the very next morning. Wang Yu, we learn, of course, survived this attack, and he is healing, and he learns that the master is dead and most of the school is dead. If they're not dead, they've left the school. So at the gambling den, we meet this guy who manages to win a big windfall, and of course the powers that be don't like that. These bad guys, they want a casino, but when anybody wins big, they're like, no, you're not getting away with that. They confront him and basically put him in a cell. His wife comes to see Master Chao as she wants to know what happened to her husband. He says he was using like a loaded dice, and then he begins to assault and rape her. I mean, as if this guy wasn't bad enough already. I mean, he wasn't using a loaded dice. His wife comes to find out where he is, and then he ends up assaulting and raping the guy's wife. I mean, we hated him enough already. I mean, now we definitely hate the guy, right? We learn at Xiao that these two both committed suicide, which happens off camera, and it's like the guy and his wife, and it's almost just like a small brief subplot, like I mentioned, for us to just hate the villains even more, to us to just like, go on Jimmy, like kick their ass, you know. So it's a brief subplot, and as I say, just for us to just hate these people even more. Wang Yu knows he must start learning the Iron Sand Palm, as he learned from his master, as a way to counter sort of their styles and learning techniques to defeat them. Begins training the next day. So he starts putting lead weights on his legs. And the thing is, he knew, what I didn't get was, and it's not even really relevant, but his master told him of the technique that he needs to defeat the bad guys, but he didn't know how to train for the technique. He didn't know what he had to do. So I'm not sure where Jimmy Wang Yu's character learns this is part of the training program to learn that technique. I don't know how he knew the method. I mean, he knew what he must learn, but I wasn't sure he knew the method, like, to train for it. So he starts putting his hands into a hot cauldron of gravel, and for some reason he does train in a really creepy place, surrounded by all these sort of ancient statues and loads of creepy, jarring close-up images of them all as well. I guess in many ways it's meant to show he's going through some kind of, that scene when you see it and it's like sort of eerie, it's to sort of give across that he's going through sort of a transformation, that he is changing, or he is getting stronger, and I think that's what it's meant to represent. I don't know, could mean nothing, I have no idea. Also worth noting that he can jump in the air like about 10 feet now, in what seems like a day, right? He seems like he can jump really high really quick, and like I say, it's like I'm not sure if it's explained how long the training has been going on for. So Chao wants to open another casino in town. Lola is like, we'll send for some samurai. So the casino thugs hassle this guy, and Wang Yu puts his, like, in this movie, he wears like a COVID mask, like a face mask, and gloves on, and beats them up. I guess the idea was for him meant to be doing like a Lone Ranger, masked hero type thing. I think that's what Jimmy Wang Yu was getting at maybe here with this. But with the mask he wears, you just can't help but think of COVID and the pandemic when he's got this mask and gloves on. So he goes around basically helping those in need wherever there is trouble. He sets fire to the casino, and some kendo experts arrive. I mean, you know, one way to send a message to someone that you don't like someone is to just commit arson, right? Just, if you don't like them, just go, and that's what he does in this movie. Just, like I say, just sets fire to the casino. So after all this, Lieh walks in the casino during business hours. Staff trying to ambush him and surround him. Like, I can't stress enough, you have to remember this was pre-Big Boss, right? This was pre-Fist of Fury. The fake blood really gets a good workout here. Staff come at him with chains and axes, and now you see Fang hack on working for the bad guys here, and even at one point at the start of the movie he was on the good guys' side. So basically Lieh whoops their asses, like, I will be at the mountain like tomorrow. So he kicks their ass. He's like, I'm going to be at the mountain tomorrow. I absolutely love the fact when he leaves that it's snowing. And I think this was a wonderful touch to the movie, and it really does give the film just a different flavour and a different vibe. That the fact that they do put snow in the movie, it just gives across that time has passed, time has lapsed, and the film seems very, towards the end of the movie, like the last third, it has a very cold feel about this movie, and I think that's a wonderful little touch that the film has. Like a deliberate decision to give the film that look, and it really does work well and makes the last part of the movie memorable, especially visually. Of course, he gets ambushed when he is leaving and reveals his face, who he truly is, and I love them all hunting for him in the long grass. Even reminded me a bit when he's he's hiding in the grass. It reminded me a bit of sort of First Blood, sort of Rambo, as he cuts them down sort of one by one. Have like ninja stars and swordplay here from Wang Yu, and a good decapitation for good measure, just to add things into it. So Chao, realising he is no match, just legs it. So Xiao Ling, Jimmy's girlfriend, is getting worried as the day of revenge is almost here, as he trained for so long. And I say, I don't think it's made clear how long he actually trained for. I'm not sure if that's hit upon, but as far as we know, I think as the audience, he's only trained for a day. He tells her to leave. He'd say if he doesn't return, being the gallant, amazing hero that he is. So Jimmy walks to the mountains and notices that his hair, when you get to this scene where he is walking to the mountains, notice as well his hair is so much shorter, obviously shot out of sequence and God knows what else, but his hair is a lot shorter here. And that has been for a lot shorter than it's been for most of the movie. And he has a nice comb over here as well going on. He's got a comb over. So Lieh is waiting for him, and they all have some very stylish winter warmers on. Lieh, especially in the end of this movie, is looking super fly. He's looking pretty damn cool, actually, Lieh, at the end of this movie. So the gloves come off literally as Wang Yu goes to fight them. All this is on location, which just adds to the ending. Wang Yu blinds one of the Japanese with a finger jab, breaks Chen Xian's arm and stomps on his chest, and then he has to take on Lieh's character. Like I say, some of the editing hasn't aged all that well with this movie. Some of the editing is a little bit off here and there, and some of the cuts are a bit off, and but in the same regard, that's sort of what makes the film what it is. He pierces Lieh's chest. So whilst all this going on, where is Chao, you may ask? Where's the main villain the main villain who we were introduced to at the start? You're thinking, where's he gone? Well, he's in like this bunker right under the snow, which he emerges from and tries to sneak up on Wang Yu. He throws a knife at him and it hits Wang Yu, but Wang Yu just throws it back and kills him. So it was under the ground, and he comes out and being the dirty guy that he is. Lieh does have the upper hand for a while. Very clever of Wang Yu not to make it. What Wang Yu does is what is quite cool. Like in a Bruce Lee movie, he does get hit, Bruce, but by and large, he's sort of nobody can touch him. Wang Yu at the end of this movie, so I'm not comparing the two. I'm just comparing sort of like sometimes like characters they play in the movies. Like here in this film, he does get hurt, and at one point, Lieh is basically dominating the crap out of him. Right? He's basically Wang Yu does get beaten quite severely, but of course Lieh Meng finger jabs his stomach and emerges victorious, as if there was any doubt. Of course he wins, Lieh Meng. But it's one of these movies, like I say, if you said to me, write down 50 kung fu movies that I must see, that above all else, I mean, this Chinese Boxer would have to be in there. It hasn't necessarily aged magnificently, but I think it's a film that you have to remember was made in 1970. This was pre Big Boss, pre sort of Bruce Lee, definitely pre Jackie Chan and that kind of thing. And like I say, this was sort of very different to sort of what was cinema goers, like action cinema goers in Hong Kong and things, were seeing, because usually it was that King Hu type of movie with sword play and things like that. So this was like I mentioned at the start of the review, very much a game changer in a way, very much a trendsetter as well. And I think Jimmy Wang Yu's vehicles, especially Chinese Boxer, is meant like largely like you could say was one of the films. I know King Boxer as well with Lieh's up there with films that like they can argue was like the first or one of the first to really get the kung fu boom going. But Chinese Boxer especially is one movie that I think you have to see just for what it sort of started. Not the best by any means, but it, like I said earlier, with Bruce Lee, not comparing the two, like him and Jimmy Wang Yu, but I think Jimmy Wang Yu very much, you could argue, was the first. And Chinese Boxer is a very, very important film, not just in Jimmy Wang Yu's back catalogue, but in Hong Kong movies in general. It's a very pivotal, important film. One you should definitely check out if you're interested in Kung Fu and Hong Kong movies. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.